right now. Don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall, my love, if you feel like I do right now. Don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
And that was cartoon Why We Lose featuring Coleman Trap. Hello, greetings everyone. I'm Grant Magic, the Virganese dictator. This is the Virgan radio service. Today, on this day, Saturday, I'm joined by the President of the UNAR, or the United North American Republic. Hello, how are you this evening?
Well, I'm decent.
Good. Can I start? I have already iterated your nation, but can you give me your name and your nation?
Well, my name's President Connor McLean of the UNAR. So yeah, that's me, the one and only.
Well and truly. Let's begin with your government structure and whatnot. How does your government function?
Well, my government is ran by Congress. Basically, there's me, then the governor of Libertalia, the capital district, and then the third guy, who basically just like does all the military stuff when I'm not doing that. So he basically runs the Republic Army and Air Service, and then Libertalia district governor and throughout the territory. So, and then do everything else.
Excellent. And what are the UNAR's or United North American Republic's goals and aspirations of of a nation?
Well,
What do you hope to
originally
achieve
we were
with it?
founded to. Yeah, you were saying.
What do you hope to achieve with the UNAR in the future?
Well, if we're going back, let's just go back to when we were originally founded. What our goal back then was.
Right.
When we were originally founded, our goal was the attaining and just keeping the spread of communism. Question. So basically, like the USA during the Second Red Scare, that whole mess. Now it's just getting more known and getting people we don't like off the map. So, yeah, like people and Burlington and all that. Yeah, getting that all off the map.
You mentioned Burlington there. It has been known recently that Burlington have committed a streak of blockings all over, excuse you, all over Twitter.
Yeah.
Can you give me your thoughts on that?
Well, a lot of what I from them blocking people is a lot of false accusations. And for example, when I was blocked along with Victorium, they mentioned fascism, and they insinuated that Victorium gave support that, which, as you know, we do not. Both of us are heavily against that. But he also has a lot of politically aimed blocks, like the Ukraine ordeal. That plays a lot. That plays a big role in it.
What's his what's Burlington's stance on the Ukraine situation? Why has he blocked this account that he will probably never have any interaction with in his life? What do you think?
The reason he blocked me and Victorium is because of we stood with the Ukrainian government. He does not. So, or at least I stood with the Ukrainian government. Couldn't really tell you what Gabe's current stance is on that. But we stood with the Ukrainian government. He doesn't. So that's a lot of the reason why we were initially blocked. So he stood with the people against the government.
Yeah.
So.
And
that's why he blocked me, Gabe.
Why do you think? Sorry, I'll rephrase that question. Do you think it's appropriate to block accounts that you have a different political stance to? Do you think that's at all appropriate?
No, I think that's completely. Now, if they did something to you, I would see where that would warrant blocking someone. But if they have a different political stance than you, then I don't think that warrants blocking someone. No.
Excellent. Let's talk about your nation's history, or even if it is short. You were once part of the nation of Amelia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Amelia, for how long was it? It was definitely less than an hour.
It was 45 minutes. We were part of Amelia for 45 minutes, and so far, to my knowledge, have actually had their only clearly defined territory as of yet, which they no longer have control of. So.
And why did you decide to join and then leave Amelia after 45 minutes? What was your your reasoning behind that?
Well, after 40, I don't really think Amelia, honestly, because they have plans of grandeur, don't get me wrong. They have plans that they're clearly aiming to go for. Fundraising to make enough money to buy an island. They mention a lot of putting a military force on that island, which I don't really agree with, which kind of contradicts my entire belief system, as my country is one of the most militarized in the state of Florida, if you can call it militarized. We have a very militaristic society, but even then, I don't think militarizing an entire island off the coast of Albania really is warranted.
Do you think his Amelia's ambitions are, let's let's use the words far-fetched?
Yes, I think they're extremely far. The what they're going for just seems really out of reach. To buy an island off the coast of Albania, sure they can buy it, but how are they actually going to get there? Is my question. They could have no problem making money. One, how are they going to make that money? Two, are they going to make enough? And three, they're able to buy the island. How are they actually going to find the money and resources to get to said island and start populating it and giving it an infrastructure and a power grid, housing, a source of clean water, things like that need to be taken in consideration.
Let's forget the fact that Amelia's doing this and wants to do this. Do you think for a nation that, for a micronation, this could be achieved? Do you think this is at all achievable for a micronation such as Amelia and any alternate universe, or even in this one? Do you think that's something that could be achievable?
Yes, I think perhaps under the right circumstances, if like these abilities to be able to make the amount of money to be able to buy this island, and you had capability to be able to make money and have the resources to get to said island. Yes, I think it's entirely possible, but for the state that Amelia is at right now, I don't think it's possible in their future.
What do you think? What do you think is stopping Amelia from this goal? Do you think it's the fact that they have a lack of money, or a lack of resources, or even a lack of stability in the government? What is it that's stopping them right now from achieving this?
Well, honestly, I think it's a mix of have any money or really any resources. And their government, I've seen, as you know, I was part of them for 45 minutes or so. And I don't think their government right now is defined enough to warrant this. But that doesn't mean in the future, they could have the resource stuff that they need, and their government could be more stable. But at this point, they don't have the governmental stability to be able to properly run something like that. Right now, what I think they need to do is just stay on the cyber scale and just find their bearing.
Now, because you were actually part of Amelia for this whole 45 minutes, you actually got to have an insight to Amelian politics, the Amelian government. Amelia's actually next week's guest, but could you tell me how this nation actually functions? Does it function at all?
Well, it's supposed to uh, I'm guessing sort of like a republic-ish. I'm guessing that's what they're going. Really, it just someone brings up a thing for vote. They're just like, okay, let's, and then they do the vote. There's never like there's not like a voting. There's really no semblance of a government. Maybe like a Congress or a Senate or something along those. Pretty much everything is just to a couple people. From what I was able to see.
Excellent. Is there any other little details that you could maybe tell us about this nation? Because that has been isolationist up until its surfacing around a month and a half ago, something like that.
Well, anything else I can tell. They just post a lot of like political stuff, and like sometimes like a inspirational thing that they might post. Something to inspire you or something. A lot of it's just political things that they just post. They mainly just do Twitter posts. They don't really do anything else. I haven't heard of them actually doing anything really big in their government since I left. So.
Alright. Alright. Again, a resurfacing topic on this this live show is the dreaded Kingdom of Catan. I want to talk a little bit about. I'm under the impression that, along with ourselves, that you are in the United Sovereignties. When the attacks on Catan happened, what was your role in that, and how did you help that cause of taking Catan down for a mere couple of weeks?
Well, honestly, I'm to admit I didn't really do much in that whole deal. I pretty much just spread the propaganda hashtags. I did start the War on Catan thing, which lasted about 3 days and then kind of died off. Still kind of trickling around some places. But really, that's pretty much all I did. I didn't really make too many big political moves against the country, other than just like actually spreading propaganda that Fitzgerald made. Yeah. So.
And what's your opinion on Catan and how it governs itself, and more importantly your opinion on Mr. James Clason White? What are your opinions on that particular person and that nation of Catan?
Well, the way Catan runs itself, or it's the way James runs himself, he like people prior, like New Westphalia said, he has created characters for his government to look legitimate, which is sock puppetry, obviously.
Yeah.
He runs it very fraudulently, and I understand the kingdom, being a monarchy, because there's only one guy. So then he just creates characters.
Is it in your personal belief that he creates these characters to use as a scapegoat almost, or anything, much anything else? Like, why do you think he continues to lie and say these outrageous things?
I think, like you said, yes, I do think he uses that as a scapegoat to make himself look legitimate without really putting in too much work, other than just becoming what is essentially a storyboard artist. Now, he does it, in my opinion, to improve his legitimacy, but what it's really doing is just showing everyone his country isn't legitimate at all. But he does this to trick people into thinking that he's got this successful country. And when he's, going back to the whole Catan ordeal, which he makes up a lot of things, like his $80 million navy, which he and his territory, which isn't really even his. In fact, thing is, he fakes everything to make himself look legit. So he's literally just practicing storyboard artist's work.
What do you mean by his where he claims his territory isn't true? What do you mean by that?
Well, he makes a lot of stuff up, and you can't really believe a lot of the stuff he says. So when he would mention something like territory, I wouldn't really believe that as being true, actual territory that he would own, other than it just being a piece of his backyard that he claimed as Catan. Stuck a flag in his backyard and just, hurrah, there's Catan.
Do you think sticking a flag in your back garden and claiming it as a nation is more respectable than lying about your territory or your perceived territory?
I would be fine if he just planted a flag in his backyard and just said that was Catan. I would be perfectly fine with that. I wouldn't really care, but it's when you get to the point of lying, of having this great amount of territory and this amazing navy, these things that he has, this government doesn't have. It's really when it just gets unacceptable to the national community, which he's and making look bad off the back. Excuse me.
That's okay. That's a couple of times now that you've mentioned his navy. He claims to have a 200 million. He claims to have a 200 million pound navy that consists of 8 yachts and 2 rubber dinghies. What do you think about this navy?
Well, if it was actually a true navy, if he actually had these ships, if he, in a scenario where he actually didn't want these yachts and these things, I would think that would be a pretty respectable fleet for a guy that, in reality, we know, he does not have this 200 million pound navy. That's just not a thing people just do. So I highly doubt that he has this navy and this grand fleet of ships. But like I was saying, in a scenario where he did have this, it would be a pretty respectable fleet for one person.
But you can't believe it because there's no picture evidence.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He doesn't give any picture evidence with any of his claims. He tends to just say something and then question him on it. Since it's over Twitter, he has all time in the world to create a response that he just completely bullcrapped.
Yeah, I actually want to correct you on that about not showing any evidence to his claims. A couple of
Yeah.
a couple of photographs surfaced. I'm not quite sure when. My Nation wasn't around then, but a couple of photographs actually surfaced that Catan had received recognition from not only Theresa May in Britain, but also from Donald Trump in America. Now, Catan claim that this is what this is what I find stupid about it. James claims that Catan is in Britain. Why would you need the recognition of America as well as Britain? But more importantly, do you think these documents are faked?
Yes, I would really believe that these documents are faked because massive countries like Great Britain and superpowers like the United States don't just randomly give people recognition. And I would think it would be fraudulent since a lot of smaller countries are usually the first countries to give recognition. Countries like Central African Republic, Bangladesh, Nepal, sort of weaker countries are usually ones to give recognition first. You won't see a country like Great Britain giving a guy in his backyard recognition, which is where that kind of throws me off.
Do you think that in time it could be possible for a micronation to actually receive recognition from, as you would state, a weaker country and the UN? Do you think that's that's an achievable thing? Or more importantly, do you think it's something that James could eventually obtain, or do you think that his lies have gone too far that no one would want to actually do that for him?
Well, in a weaker country, not stereotype, but maybe in a weaker African country, in like Central Africa, might be able to pull and create their own territory, get recognized, and create an economic powerhouse in a material-rich Central Africa. On the second question, no, I do not think Catan would be ever to become UN recognized because of their fraudulency, lack of they wouldn't, in my opinion, be allowed to even be considered.
Right. Let's talk about your your membership and the use of, as stated earlier. What's your role, your nation's role in the use of, and how do you believe the use of functions?
The UN use of is pretty much we just spread around all of the prop USOF creates. We also just, like Tamalika, spread around a lot of like banter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We kind of don't really have a very set position, which trying to find out among ourselves what our position could be. Like Congress is trying to find out what position we would ever hold because we don't really do much, sadly. We're kind of just there.
Listen, no nation in the use of is inferior to any other one. the UNAR is just as important as Victorium or even last week's guest Winona. So I wouldn't say you're just there, because every nation does have an important role in an alliance.
I mean, I did introduce that combined army, but I mean, you can't really have a combined army military. You're like the only military you're the only country with a military over one person.
Yeah. I want to actually cut back to our conversation earlier about Burlington. And I want to talk a little bit more about Burlington, because not a lot of nations are too familiar with that one. My nation and your nation had a little bit of a dispute over what's known as the Williamsburg Treaty, when Gosha, the Kingdom of Gosha, handed over itself to myself, or the Virgan Republic and Fitzgerland, and you actually stood with Gosha, only to then
Yes.
double back and say no, this is wrong. Why did you decide to stop supporting them?
Well, originally when we were Gosha was really just to keep them on. We didn't really favor their political system that much because they had been changing it every single couple weeks, every couple of weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't favor their political stability. We were still trying to keep them on the map because at the time, Ethan seemed like a pretty nice guy. But then he did the whole switch to social, which I didn't really agree with. So we kind of just doubled back and decided to support him, because 3 things we don't really allow, 4 we don't really we frown upon, and the UNAR is nationalist and socialist. Communists, we don't really like those too much, and then fascists just are completely banned. Fascism is just completely banned, and when he made the switch to socialism, it's kind of, I was like, ha, no, let's not.
Gosha was actually under Burlington's rule for a few days.
Yeah, they were.
What did after signing away Gosha to myself and the Virgan Republic and Fitzgerland, after he decided that he was going to be part of Burlington, what did you think of that? Because I thought that was really, really hypocritical of him. And
well, like you do that. I also think it's hypocritical of him to block me, because he did block me after that ordeal, which I'm still kind of mad about, because I'm like the only person that actually supported him in like Burlington. So that kind of made me angry, but now I just kind of see it as a giant waste of time. But I think that is really to do that. So he's just a massive hypocrite. So
right, let's move off the doom and gloom. Let's talk about the micronational community as a whole. Do you think that there's any nations apart from the ones that we've already discussed? Do you think there's any nation that really pulls the micronational community down right now? Again, not the ones that we've discussed, like Burlington, Gosha, or what is it? Gosha, which is now Bronland, and Catan. Are there any other nations that you feel could be a threat to the micronational way of life?
I mean, not really to like the micronational. Not really any that I see. It's mainly just the four that we've mentioned: Catan, Berlin, Amelia, surprisingly, because they are just a nuisance, and Gosha. They're pretty much the only four that I see that could really potentially hurt the micronational community. Otherwise, I don't really see anyone else. So
What about nations and even micronational organisations that you think really bring up the micronational community and show the lightheartedness and the goodness of people in it? Is there any nation or micronational community that catches your eye on that?
well, micronational for nations that bring up the community and kind of like the face of the community good, like that are the face of the micro. Obviously, they're like the big face of the community. Them in Sealand, they're like the two most micronations, and they pretty much put entire micronational organization on the map. So obviously those two,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of, and then micronational organization leaders lead successful micronational organizations. The United Micronations, which the one that actually does stuff, and then the USAV with Gabe and Victoria.
Yeah.
Pretty much successful micronational leaders that lead organizations on top of nations. They help a lot with keeping our community fresh and keeping it, going, keeping the idea alive.
I want to talk about maybe the future of the micronational community. Where do you see the community as a whole in 1 year from now?
The community 1 year. I guess it would kind of be like if we were able to get rid of all these nuisance nations like Catan and Goshen and Amelia, these nations that are just kind of a nuisance and are damaging our community. Actually, I think I'm going to take Amelia out because Amelia is hurting the community as much as just UNAR kind of sees them as a but the other three, if those three were just wiped off the map, like they never even existed, like Twitter thermonuclear Twitter per se, I guess, just Burlington, Gusha, and Burlington, Gaktan, Canada, just make everyone hate them. And they just left, and that would really improve it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of micronations I could see, maybe even one day, being able to find their way to become a actual UN recognized nation. These nations have, like they've been around for years and years and years. They've done things on the world stage, and they're active in politics. Because if you have a micronational leader that's active in politics, you're going to be well known, and it's going to improve your chances of being able to appeal to the UN to become a nation.
Yeah.
That would vastly improve your chances, which, then again, not too many nations really have that. But nations like Liberland, which become a nation, but it's sea land.
Yeah.
If they were able to find actual land territory, they might have a chance of becoming an actual nation.
Absolutely.
But in the next year,
Yep. Continue.
Yeah.
Live audience that's listening at home right now. We're now taking questions for the president of the UNAR. So if you do have any questions for him right now, please post them in the live feeds, and we'll answer them as soon as possible. But please continue about the nations that you think could achieve nationhood and recognition from the UN.
Sealand, they are kind of a unique case because the government of Great Britain does actually know they exist, because
Yeah, there was a whole invasion about it. There was an invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not know that Great Britain actually invaded Sealand and arrested the prince?
Well, they tried to. They sent German mercenaries to go try and invade, and then Sealand managed to actually keep them away somehow. Which is, I don't even, but somehow they did. Even though they had zero tactical advantages other than just old abandoned World War II artillery rig in the middle of the ocean. They had no other really big advantages, like they were outnumbered and outgunned.
Yeah.
Somehow they managed to stay up, quite literally, because mercenaries were going to blow up the rig. Anyways, but they have the best chance because they've actually proved they can defend themselves, and they've had affairs with actual UN member states. They've had scandals, and even a case where a guy who had been murdered by someone was found with a Sealand passport.
Yeah.
The only thing really is the fact that they're on an oil rig.
Well, I know I know
just
empty oil rig.
It's just a giant metal platform in the middle of it. That's literally the only thing. Chunk of land in, I don't know, Siberia, I guess. You can't have it on an artificial island platform, which is why Sealand can't really become an because of their territory.
Daniel Elliott of the United Sartonian Empire asks, what, if any other than English languages, are recognised in the UNAR? And do you plan to have or started work on a constructed language, conlang, self-made language?
Recognized in as a language, but German is also a recognized language. We actually have an entire holiday. It's called Germanic People Appreciation Day, and I think it's celebrated on the 10th or something.
Alright.
Yeah, it's on the 10th of November. So shortly after the Independence Day.
Alright.
And then the second question, which I didn't really pick. So, yeah.
do you plan to have any constructed languages, conlangs, stuff like that?
Maybe in the future, too.
Yeah. Well, that is all the time that we've got for this week. Join us next week when hopefully we'll manage to get Amelia on, and that's it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight. Thanks for listening, everyone.